You're listening to the Chorus One podcast, a show that covers decentralized networks and their impact on the evolution of automated and borderless economies. On this podcast, we invite pioneers and builders to discuss the decentralized protocols and projects they are working on. On the show today, we have Lex Avellino, CEO at 3 Division and co-founder of Passage Network. Passage is a network launching in the Cosmos ecosystem that empowers virtual world builders with tools to create their own virtual worlds. Think of it like The Sims, only you own the scarce 3D assets that you use in your worlds. We talk about Passage's decision to use Cosmos, why interoperability is important for their NFTs and virtual worlds, and how they scaled their team to achieve their network vision, plus so much more. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Chorus One podcast, where it's been a little while since our last podcast was released, but I'm really pleased to have Lex on the show from Passage. Lex, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you, brother. It's my pleasure. Stoked to be here.
Yeah, so thank you. Can totally appreciate how busy you'd be at the moment. So really looking forward to diving deep into Passage. It's pretty exciting. I guess it's a totally new sort of experience what you're doing, especially within the Cosmos ecosystem. So I guess the first question might be, what is Passage and what are your plans for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So base level Passage is a interactive immersion platform, right? We have interactions that are built in Unreal Engine. They're hosted in a decentralized cloud, and they're streamed to the user via browser, right? So the idea is you can interact with a game, right? Instead of downloading it, you just go to a website and interact, right? That you can log in, you can connect your wallet, play as your character, leverage your NFT or token assets, and basically the really unique experience that we've created is taking something that, for one, is a super immersive, realistic gameplay experience, right? So taking the best of a graphic engine like Unreal Engine and connecting that to the browser through the whole streaming setup that we've built. And we've built a lot of proprietary elements to this to make this more accessible. And then, again, we've also been building custom audio-video infrastructure on WebRTC to be able to, because there isn't really a great way right now to feed audio and video into Unreal Engine or into any game engine in a way that's really organic, just based off of the kind of like natural limitations of the use cases we've had before, right? So we're building some custom pieces, we're connecting different pieces. Obviously we're connecting to the Cosmos SDK for your blockchain assets and any on-chain elements. And then we're also leveraging Unreal Engine for graphics and for the game engine elements. But our goal is that some of these things will be swappable, right? That eventually you could swap out Unreal Engine for Godot. And the goal here that we're building with Passage is not just one world or one experience, but a multitude of experiences and a platform where people can build these experiences in an accessible way, right? So to that end, we've already done some of these experiences, right? And that's I think probably what's unique about Passage is, for one, the concept itself, I think is a new approach to interactive experiences, virtual experiences. It's different because the way you see people face to face with our custom, 3D video chat and such, but then also the fact that this is a working product, right? We've done events for Capitol Records, Amazon, American Girl, Scooter Braun. Before that, we were designing events. So before we even had the Passage platform, we've been designing events in 3D virtual spaces for years now with large brands like Warner Brothers, Marvel, Disney, Red Bull, Dallas Cowboys. And so we've been in this business of creating these virtual experiences for a long time. And we've already done events with this specific platform, even though it's leveled up, over the course of us building those things. But we had to bootstrap all this from scratch, right? I mean, we were a service-based business, right? Building our own tech. And we had to pitch it and make it and sell it all at the same time. So it was an interesting process of actually bringing this to life. And then we wanted to bring this value into the Web3 world. So it was not like, I've got this big idea and I'm going to get a bunch of Web3 people to fund it, right? It was like, no, we need Web3 because we want to add that extra layer of value to the virtual experiences that we're already creating and add ownership, right? And add, trustless relationships and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that overview. I think it's definitely very exciting, and you touched on many things in that spiel. So I think one thing that you mentioned a fair bit is this Unreal Engine. So
Yep.
just for people maybe that aren't aware, perhaps like the crypto people that maybe they're not gamers, they're from financial realms.
Right.
What is Unreal Engine, and how does this work with Passage?
Unreal Engine is what allows us to avoid making your because we're building these virtual 3D experiences for everyone from we're building the events that we've done. We're kind of in the corporate entertainment space, right? It was consumers, it was corporate, but it was entertainment. It was not crypto focused. It was not gamer focused, even, right? And so we had to make events that were accessible and that were relatable to most people, which usually means kind of a realistic atmosphere, right? You want it to be high fidelity. You want it to be connect to people's experience of the real world, and so having more realistic graphics is important. And Unreal Engine is what lets us basically build this without it looking like Minecraft, right? Because nobody wants to host their, a professional event, or we actually use it for our team collaboration. We're going to be onboarding other teams into virtual workspaces, within the next quarter. And the goal is that people can use this at a bunch of different levels in a bunch of different ways, and you can dictate, what kind of look and style is appropriate for your application, right? Unreal Engine lets us do that. Unreal Engine lets us make it super realistic. It is the best graphics on the market right now. It is also an ecosystem. It's a very popular game engine. And so it's also an ecosystem where there are a bunch of content creators, right? There's already developers and creative teams that are building for Unreal Engine. So there's a huge ecosystem of potential contributors to this ecosystem that we're building that could leverage all of those assets on the blockchain or connected to blockchain assets.
Yeah, super cool. I think that's really nice that you're integrating that into Passage, and sounds totally unique actually to sort of what I've heard before, especially in the Cosmos ecosystem, which we will touch on in a little bit. But I think first maybe it might be interesting to get into. So who is the team behind Passage? Who's building this? What's the background of them? Yeah, who's involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the CEO and founder of Passage. It all started out of the studio that I founded about 5 years ago called 3Division. And basically, we started off as a creative team. Now, a very tech-oriented creative team because we were working in CGI and VFX and kind of 3D graphics and rendering. And so, we've always been very technology focused in terms of this type of stuff that we were building. And it started with just me. I brought on more creatives, brought on visionaries and project managers who over the years, I mean, basically it was really just the minimum possible team because we were always kind of bootstrapping, our progress. And we got some really interesting leverage and opportunities when we started working on these kind of like bigger picture events. There was a team that I started working with out in LA who were building these events on Hollywood and Vine Street in Hollywood for studios like Warner Brothers, right? And these were like real world activations where we had to build out virtual replicas and different elements that were either going to get built in the real world or that had to be simulated and previewed. So like pre-rendered animations of the events to kind of like approve throughout the process. Some stuff got like some of our assets would actually be like manufactured into like physical content. So like neon signs. And we did a lot of like huge, like 90-foot prints that would end up going on these structures. And it was really creative stuff. I mean, we worked with these teams on really fun productions, but then started moving more and more into the technical elements of that and creating, okay, so we've already got this virtual replica of this experience. We're already used to building out these experiences in on the virtual side of things. So starting to build interactivity into that, right? And like, okay, if we really want to simulate the way that people actually interact in the real world, it's not Zoom, right? It's not these video calls where we're all the same size box in the same little screen, arbitrarily positioned. You'd have no idea who I'm looking at. And so like there's all these weird social mechanics that go into a Zoom call where it's like you're technically in the background of the call just listening, and yet if you're on video you kind of feel like you're on stage the whole time because you're the same size as everybody else. There's all these mechanics that go into it where there's no sense of position or relation or because it's just arbitrary. Well, that's why we started using this 3D space to build out these experiences. We knew that video was going to be important to get that face-to-face sense, spatialized audio. There's a lot of really cool things we baked in from the start. But the key was how do we make it accessible? Because these game engines and whatnot, you got to download an 80 gigabyte file to have a actual realistic space that you're building, and then you might have to have like a high-end gaming machine, and so there's a bunch of roadblocks in between the user and that high fidelity experience. So we started breaking those down, and first we were building these in the web, whatever. Throughout our journey, we were breaking down more and more of these barriers to entry for these high fidelity experiences that felt immersive. And so the team grew accordingly. And as we started building out more of the interactive stuff, that was the 3 division team, right? And first we were just 5 of us, 7 of us. Now there's about 15 to 20 in-house in the US. We've got developers, we have concept artists, we have 3D artists, and we're kind of like hyper focused on technology and design. So like we've done a lot of really custom development around WebRTC, 3JS, so 3D in the web, but also moving into custom rendering pipelines in Rust. There's a lot of really cool like technical stuff we've done. I come from the creative side of things, but have been building kind of this technical team for a long time, and have been blessed to kind of have leaders on our team now who are just highly proficient in these different spaces, like building custom path tracing render engines in Rust and stuff like that. Like they're just kind of brilliant and wild. And so we have this really solid core team, but then basically what we've done is we've been scaling to kind of like get more production out of the team. And there's a lot of elements that can be scaled more easily, like game mechanics, or even like more standard blockchain elements, right, for Cosmosm, Rust smart contracts, and things like that. So we've kind of been leveraging either outsourced talent, contractors, as well as partner teams to kind of scale in a responsible way, because we're constantly adding new people to the team. We're bringing on a former Amazon cloud developer, right? Because a lot of what we're doing relies on cloud infrastructure and decentralized cloud infrastructure. And so, whatever, we're growing our internal team, but at the same time, just trying to be smart about it. And so throughout our whole life as a team, we've kind of also developed that skill of, these orbiting planets, right? It's like we've got to always be building the core, but at the same time, raising our skills at managing peripheral teams as well, right? So it's been this huge balancing act to make sure that like we don't just become this kind of bloated behemoth overnight, right? I absolutely I hate arbitrary infrastructure, right? Arbitrary process, and like the 10 layers of management you have to have, across different teams. But at the same time, you want to grow. You want to be able to grow and do more. So it's managing these teams of teams, right? And so yeah, that's kind of how we've grown. And across all of our contractors, in-house developers, and our partners, we probably have like 30 to 50 people who are working on Passage and the projects within Passage.
No, I think it's, I guess, really sort of natural how you've designed the team, especially how distributed the whole crypto space is these days.
Yeah.
Many teams are like yours, I would say. And I think one of the unique things about Passage in specific is just the fact that you have so many different elements going on. I guess most of the time you might have a crypto network that has some, blockchain engineers, maybe some infrastructure people. However, they probably don't have the same like designers, 3D artists, etc. that Passage has. So I think it's definitely one of the unique things that you have in Passage. And so I wanted to ask, you mentioned it just before. So you've chosen Cosmos. You've collected this team and you've got everyone ready to go to build out your vision for Passage. So I guess it is now being executed on Cosmos. Why did you choose Cosmos out of all the blockchains you could have chosen?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I answered this question recently, actually, we were talking to a well-known team on the Polkadot ecosystem, and they're like, "Why Passage?" And for somebody who's not in Cosmos, I understand the question. I know you already know the answer to this question, but it's so funny because they're like, are they giving you a grant or something? Like, it was kind of like, and I totally get it. It totally makes sense they would be asking this question. It was a fantastic conversation. But they were legitimately like kind of surprised, like, because we just walked them through Passage. They'd been in the experience, right? They realized, kind of the unique nature of what we're building, and it's like, well, why Cosmos? And for us, it's the only option. It's the only option right now, and there's a bunch of huge reasons for this. Obviously, the technology reasons are kind of easy, right? And I think IBC, it is working right now. That's something nobody else can say, right? Polkadot has their what are the different what are they called? The
Parachains.
Parachains, yeah. They just did the parachain, or they're in the process of the parachain auctions, right? So it's being implemented, and you could probably say they're a step ahead of Cardano, right, in terms of executing on the vision. But IBC works today, and this is like the thing that I love. This probably sums up my appreciation for Cosmos, is that is the best balance of making something today that has a future, right? It's the best balance of, we have a big picture vision that you don't have to wait 10 years for, right? It's like we're building something that works both today and in 10 years, because there's this journey that's been mapped out, and they're not waiting a decade to deliver a product, but at the same time they have a vision that's beyond forking Ethereum and centralizing all of the transaction processing, right? You all know who we're talking about. And so it's like, we don't want to sacrifice quality for having something right now, but at the same time, if the vision is just 20 years down the road, nobody can get on board with that, right? And by the time you actually execute the vision, all the standards have changed, right? So that balance to me is huge, because that's the balance that my team has been going through for the last 5 years, right? It's this balance of, okay, we want to make this thing up here, but we're down here. What's the next step, right? Just what is step one, and how do you get there? And how do I ensure that step one is going to get me closer to step two, when you really don't know what's in between? You just need to know that each step will get you closer, right? So wild. To me, it's perfect. It's perfect balance.
I guess you mentioned IBC and like executing on that compared to what they have in Polkadot right now, which is like in the long term. So So you've mentioned Polkadot and Cosmos. So interoperability, I guess, was key for you when making your decision with choosing your blockchain.
Oh, totally, 100%. Interoperability is huge, because what we talk about when we're talking about a interactive virtual platform like Passage, right? Let's call it a metaverse, even though the term is thrown around, with total utter disregard. You need interoperability, right? You need people to be able to create different things that have a connection, right? Because that's what a metaverse is. It is not one world. It is a meta of worlds, right? Of universes. And so these should be able to be totally different and yet have layers in common that allow them to exchange value and relationships and experiences. So super important. The interoperability was super important. So from a technological level, yes, IBC was essential, and the fact that it was being executed on today was so huge. And just osmosis, right? I mean, that's kind of all we have to say is like it works. It's a beautiful experience. It's better than any other DeFi experience. What we see now on IBC. So yeah, super excited about that. I could go into more depth on other stuff too.
No, I think I like that. Definitely, that's great background into why you chose Cosmos. I think.
Well, but here's the other thing. It's not technical, because of the way the community, because of actually the lack of marketing. A huge feature of Cosmos is that the marketing is bad. Like, that's actually a huge plus, because the people who get here are the best consumers and builders that you'll ever find. We have the best community because you have to do your homework to be here, right? So everybody here has been through the ringer, right? They've been through a process of figuring out why they want to be here. You can't follow a hype train to Cosmos. The hype train doesn't come here, right? It will. We're building, stops for the hype train, but those people are all going to be, late to the game. And the people who are here now have a totally different kind of dedication to their craft, to the ecosystem, and to investing, right? And so that is why you go in the Passage Discord, you go in the Strange Clan Discord, and the vibe there is just totally different. Every now and then you get somebody yamping, and they're like, oh, like, I don't understand, like, where is this thing? Like, this doesn't make sense. And it's like within like minutes, like 10 mods have answered their questions. The community has kind of like encouraged them and coaxed them into the IBC vibe, and they're like, oh no, this is perfect. Like, I totally get it now, right? But like, that's totally not the norm for other NFT, degen ecosystems. My goodness, you go into the Discord for any BNB project or Solana or Cardano even, and the vibe is totally different, right? because ultimately people are there not out of some shared vision and belief of the ecosystem, but to make a buck tomorrow, right? I don't know how you can do that in Cardano. I guess you just have to be some type of, maxi. Again, I'm not even gonna get into that, but the mood here is totally different, right? It's totally different, and I think that is because you have to do your homework to get here. And so, yeah, we just have a really powerful community of builders. So many opportunities here that are really unique. Quality is just above and beyond anything else.
No, I think you've literally just summed it up and also worded it so well. I think totally true about the Cosmos community. I think like a great way of thinking about it is sort of you find Bitcoin, then you might find smart contracts on Ethereum, and
Yep.
then you might find all the competing ones to Ethereum. But then it really takes some effort to really understand why you need interoperability and how even this works is quite tough to comprehend. So if you're going that far,
Yeah.
and I agree that it's not as maybe explained, or maybe there's not as much education on how it works. So you have to be really doing your research. So I think, yeah, totally cool. I think that you're in the Cosmos ecosystem. Like I know us at Chorus One, we're really excited to see you go live in Cosmos ecosystem and be IBC enabled and, connect assets. And actually, so
Yeah.
I want to take it more to the market, or not to the marketplace, to the Strange Clan that you've mentioned a few
Right.
times in this podcast already, and then to the marketplace now that we're speaking about IBC. So Strange Clan. So I guess what you've said so far is Passage is essentially, a virtual world builder, essentially on the Cosmos network. You can build different metaverses, but you do have a go to market already. And you mentioned at the start, you do have a product that, is sort of
Yep.
live and you can use it. So Strange Clan is this first sort of environment that you've built, or you might be able to delve into exactly who built it and what it is. How does this work? Strange Clan game on Passage, and what is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Strange Clan is really interesting. Most people discovered Strange Clan before they discovered Passage, even though we'd been building Passage for years before we even started Strange Clan. And that's because it's just more exciting, right? Like infrastructure is cool. But I saw a great thread on Twitter, and I forget who posted it, where they're talking about Metaverse. And it's like you have so many people building Metaverse infrastructure without any application, right? There's no like, oh, we're building infrastructure. Infrastructure is not exciting unless you're speculating or you're a builder. And then if you're a builder, you want to be building. And so it's not that exciting unless you have it in your hands, right? And so this speculative infrastructure is whatever. For Strange Clan, it gave us an opportunity to introduce the community to what we're doing through application, right? They can see like, oh, okay, wow, that's cool, the idea of this game, and then zoom out like, oh, and it's connected to all these other virtual experiences, right? Awesome, via IBC. So the idea is that it's a game. There's lots of reasons why we think this is a unique game, why the art is unique, why the creative team is unique. It's our team that's building it. Our creative director has been leading all of the content development from the 2D to the 3D. We have a host of 3D Unreal Engine artists. We go from Blender to Unreal Engine. We have the whole flow in-house, which is incredible. And we've also been scaling with these contractors, partner teams that have vetted experience working on AAA games, right? Working for studios like Epic and Ubisoft and Square Enix, Riot Games, big people. It's been really exciting to be able to, for one, leverage the unique talents of our team and also scale, right? With people who have kind of like been through the ringer on this stuff. Because those are the two things you kind of miss in a lot of other teams building in the space is that either they don't have talent in-house, which we do, or they don't have experience, right? Which we are in some ways we have this host of advisors and partner teams in the space who are kind of guiding us through this process because it is our first game in the official sense, even though we've built a bunch of interactive experiences that were meant to be entertaining and captivating and are pretty much a game, right? It's like we've built those experiences, but yeah, there's totally definitely new challenges you face when assembling a larger host of game mechanics into a collective, a long form experience, right? So a lot of unique challenges that we're able to face because of the way the team has scaled. So we're building Strange Clan, awesome game, fun. The really cool thing about it is it's accessible because of the Passage architecture that's going to be underneath it. It's accessible via streaming, right? So people could hop in on their phone or on an old laptop or on any device and access the game immediately, right? You don't have to have a gaming computer. You don't have to whatever. And all your assets within the game are going to be IBC assets, right? So your characters are NFTs. They're going to be IBC tokens within the game. And it brings you a lot of the benefits of IBC within the gaming ecosystem, right? Which for us is true ownership over your contribution to the ecosystem and the community. So there's that element. And then there's the idea that, okay, if all these things are IBC compatible, I mean, this is where people see the game like, okay, cool. The art looks great. The concepts are great. Love the ideas. Boom, I'm in, right? It's IBC, done. But it's so much bigger than that, because when you zoom out to the passage level, well, what if you want to go to an event built on, so we're building an event space called Blockhouse. We already have 2 major events with this year that are going to be with people who have audiences 10 times the size of ours, right? So these are like mainstream entertainers and content creators who have their own independent audiences from outside of crypto, right? Because our background is in entertainment, right? Not in crypto. And so it's really cool that we get to kind of like funnel adoption, not just into Web3, but into Cosmos. And let's say you want to go to one of those events, but you want to attend as your Strange Clan avatar, right? Because all those assets, right? Your characters over there, your 3D avatars there will translate across these different experiences. And so the idea is that you could actually go to an event as your avatar. You could whip out, the special item that you got, or use it as a plaque on your virtual office wall, like the fact that all of the pieces translate, right? And not just that, but your relationships, right? Your relationships aren't owned by Strange Clan. Like if you make friends in that experience or make friends at the concert, they're connected to your wallet, right? And so they will translate seamlessly across different experiences, and you have the ability to control that, right? Let's say all the passage world were shut down. Well, you still have all your friends. You still have all those connections, right? Let's say you got, whatever. So the idea is that, again, creating ownership in these experiences, in these social virtual spaces. And then, so that's one layer of the picture. And then maybe we could go to the marketplace, because that's kind of another.
Yeah, we can go to the marketplace. I think just before we go to the marketplace,
please.
So I know myself what Strange Clan is in terms of the gameplay, but I think for those listening that don't know what it is, maybe good chance to sort of describe what can you do in this game and what makes it so exciting. Why is everyone excited about it?
Yeah, it's an open world RPG, right? It's going to be fun. I mean, we grew up on games like Zelda, Final Fantasy, today, Divinity Original Sin 2, Baldur's Gate 3, like fun, immersive, open world, narrative based experiences that you can get in with your buddies and go and farm, craft, quest, right? That's our tagline, farm, craft, quest. And it's so standard, but we're doing everything with a different vision, right? And it's a vision of ownership, which fundamentally changes so many of the mechanics and how they work. Yeah, I mean, even thinking about a lot of, so here's just one example of how our mission and our vision is totally different from what anybody else is doing. Think about land, right? Sandbox. They sold all their land. They just sold it to anybody, right? Anybody who would drop money on their lap, right? It's like, you get to have this land. And it's like, for what? Like, what can you do with that land? I mean, not much now. I know they've done like an alpha demo. I don't know where they are exactly now. I don't think they have a full release or anything. So cool, you own this land, you can speculate, right? So this is really for investors. It's not for gamers, right? So the people who own that land are mostly speculators. They're not actually people who care about Minecraft or like these virtual experiences. For us, we're doing it totally differently. There will be ownable land in the game, right? Because again, we love that idea of ownership and having a space that you can do custom things with. But we won't sell a single piece of that land. It'll all be earned in game by NFT holders, right? And so the idea is that, maybe that cuts into profits somewhere, right? But our goal is to create volume. If we can create volume and more interactions, then it'll be sustainable, because we just take a small cut of people actually playing and doing what they want, rather than taking a big cut of just anybody investing or speculating on this ecosystem. It's like, okay, sure, you want to invest and speculate? That's great. Hop in and game with everybody else, right? Put everybody in the same playing field, right? So that, you can't get an advantage just because you have more money or more resources. And the idea would be that, so it's a totally different mentality, right? We want people to join this because it's a fun game and they want to participate, not because they've got a fat stack of cash that they want to increase, right? There will be opportunity for people to speculate. Like, obviously, when you can own anything, there is an opportunity to speculate there. But that's not what this is about. It's about creating a quality game. So, the themes, classic. And we want to, really leverage the classic RPG niche, right? But the approach is totally different. And I mean, have you seen those chubby little characters, man? They're adorable.
No, that definitely. I really recommend anyone listening to this podcast to go check out the Strange Clan website right now and check out the NFTs that are available in Juno, which we can touch upon
Yep.
right now.
Yes.
So yeah, we've mentioned a lot of NFTs, and this is how you can have a character, perhaps across virtual worlds, which I think is super sick actually, and people just don't even really understand the extent of how sick that is yet. Maybe until they see
Yep.
it live. But so I guess so Juno, you've chosen Juno to have your marketplace there. Any reason in particular? Like, how is that sort of working, and how can you envision that in the future?
Yeah, so the reason we started on Juno was because we could. I mean, it was accessible, it was available, and we actually didn't think we'd be able to get our own blockchain moving as quickly as we did. We had over 250 validators, apply to be a part of the genesis of the chain. So that was really exciting. We were not anticipating that. We were only looking for 100 validators. So totally blown away there. But we'd already started building the marketplace on Juno, and that was the intent from the beginning. Was again this mentality of we want to deliver an opportunity and quality today, and there was not a great way to facilitate NFT ownership in Cosmos at that point, right? I mean, we had the CW721 smart contracts, right, and that was it, right? But there wasn't a marketplace. We now have the bragging rights, as small as they may be, of saying we were the first accessible NFT marketplace on Cosmos. I say that because there were other options. There was Uptick, right? But you had to jump through some hoops, download the test flight app, and things like that. So, I don't think they had the same kind of volume on the marketplace. People, buying and trading. And Stargaze is going to blow us out of the water in terms of they've got more collections launching. They've got more functionality they're starting with, right? I mean, we started with like the bare bones functionality to get this out because our goal was not the perfect marketplace, but something people could use today to buy and trade NFTs on chain, right? That was our goal. And it's so exciting that we're there, right? We've had 2 million in volume on the marketplace, which is awesome. And I mean, I hate saying this stuff. Like, it's a really cool. I love the numbers, but I don't care about the floor price, right? Because the floor price, give me a year, and we'll talk about floor price. It's this mentality of saying like you expect the price to double overnight. It's just so NFT degen, right? And that's not what we are. We're looking to create long-term value. And so great. If the people who bought in back in October have seen a reasonable return, I'm happy about that. But my goal is not to give them a return right now because we haven't made a game yet, right? It's like I want to show the ability to deliver reliable value over time. And, granted, it's been, whatever, like 7 months, 6 months since October when people were minting. So there should be some return. That's fair enough, right? And it's been great, right? The floor was like 50 Atom, and now it's 60 Atom, and actually now it's higher than that. There's nothing below 65 Atom right now. So it's been like going up, which is awesome. It's just cool because to me, it's not about the price. It's about people seeing value, right? And that's going to change, right? That'll shift over time. And there's going to be times when it fluctuates lower and higher because it is speculation, right? But for me, we see a really good path here because the community is on board, right? And we've invested not in the biggest community possible, but a group of people who really care about what we're doing, who are invested in the experience. And it's the kind of community I think you can only build in Cosmos. So,
Yeah,
but the way
I
this
think.
connects,
No,
with the bigger picture vision, real quick, is that ultimately what we're focusing on with this marketplace that is totally unique is these NFTs as assets within the bigger Passage ecosystem, right? So unlocking experiences, NFTs as 3D assets that you can use to drag and drop, customize your own virtual world, right? Or use within another virtual world, right? Drag them as decorations for your virtual office, or use them to set up a community space. Like, the idea is that we're creating NFTs with inherent utility because as soon as it ends up on the marketplace, it can be used anywhere in Passage, right? Whether it's a 2D NFT or a 3D NFT, it suddenly has utility just by existing, not to mention anything that you might bake into it, right? So for us, that is the key, is being able to deliver utility to a large spectrum of potential NFT types.
I think especially, I mean, two things you mentioned there. The first thing is the Cosmos ecosystem. We've already touched on that a lot, but so I guess for people who are listening, if they want to, let's say, play Strange Clan right now, and when it goes live, they would have to use Juno, the Juno NFT marketplace, and then perhaps purchase an NFT there. And I know you have a second drop upcoming at some stage for those
Yep.
that. And maybe, is there any details you can share on that? I know sometimes these details can be private.
Tomorrow
Cool,
in our GM tidings. So every single, this is another unique, our community is just incredible. And a big part of our value has just been communication, like over communicating with the community. Every single day we're live in Discord. We do a live chat every single day. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's in the Passage Discord. On Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's in the Strange Clan Discord. And so super unique in terms of our team, just like being overly transparent with the community. And tomorrow in GM Tidings, in the Strange Clan Discord at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, we're going to be announcing roadmap dates for the token drop. So people being able to claim their passage tokens if they have NFTs, Town 1 NFTs. And then the Town 2 launch, the egg drop, and the item drop for NFT holders. So there's like a whole series of stuff that's coming up. And it's leading up to the prologue, right? Again, because we're looking to deliver utility in phases, right? So it's been this process of being able to make sure there's stuff for people to do, right? And there's a big gap where we had to like boot up the team, scale up the team, and do more production where, it's been, I want to say stagnant to an extent. We've had quests, we've had like social interactions, there's been new content, but people haven't been able to do something the same way with the NFTs. And I believe that's going to shift, right? Where now you can speculate, you can trade on the marketplace, you can take some profits, you can get in if you weren't in before, and then people are going to be able to have the token drop, the egg drop, the item drop. We're going to be able to do fun things like the egg hatching event, right? Like there's going to be like stuff going on for people to interact with as we're building up to the prologue, which is going to be a 2D experience where people have a more long-term way to be interacting every single day with their NFTs, farming tokens, interacting with the story, doing quests in a more limited scale. And that experience will continue to grow up until the launch of Chapter 1.
No, I think it's definitely an incredible roadmap. And yeah, thanks for explaining it for those that perhaps might not be unaware. But I think what I was sort of saying before, so yeah, that's all on Juno, of course, those NFTs.
Yep.
We haven't really touched upon it this episode, but I think just really nice that what you do as well is you are utilizing a cache. So I think, just in terms of like all the different projects you mentioned, Stargaze, I'm not sure if you'll be interacting with them at some stage in the future, but I guess like
absolutely
just how helpful I guess everyone can be in the ecosystem and how like you're using so many different things, I guess, using Juno for smart contracts, perhaps a cache, I know, for CPU and potentially GPU.
Can I just do some shout outs here? Because
of course.
oh my gosh, man, the community's been incredible. Okay, so to the chagrin of all the fair drop shouters, we're doing a private sale because we're building something big and we need people involved. We've had so many validators, people who are doing like Cosmos infrastructure, who are super eager to take part in the private sale. And you have no idea how awesome that is to have people on board standing behind the project who are also a public face in the community, right? So it's like there's this extra layer of accountability where it's like, yeah, don't dump on us, right? And it's like, because they're your community too, right? And that's what's so cool about it is that, we've had so much infrastructure participation in the token sale. But then like there's so many cool elements of collaboration. So like, we've had a bunch of incredible talks with the Osmosis team. Talked to Josh Lee from Kepler when I was at not DecentralCon, at the in Denver, ETH Denver. And we're talking to the Cosmos Station people because again, we need wallet integrations for these NFTs, right? There's a team called Starrybot that everybody should go look up and follow, and they're building Kepler Discord bots for gating channels in Discord and things like that, based off of holding NFTs, based off holding tokens, and we're working with them directly to. They've been using our smart contract as an example for doing the NFT gating, right? So we're going to be able to have exclusive channels for NFT holders via Kepler very soon, right? So there's so many cool things there. Obviously, like, we've got a proposal going on chain soon for Chihuahua's Passage world. Like the synergies there are huge. And for me, it's just so cool seeing what we're doing, seeing people excited about it and standing behind it. Obviously, the Akash team. I mean, they are, I can say publicly that they are leading the way in the token sale. They are a huge fundamental partner. Both of us are tied together very much in terms of our success. For a success for them is one for us, and vice versa. And Greg and his CTO Chang have just been such incredible friends in this whole process, kind of helping us to better understand our options, and just well, I want to say guiding, and just there's been so much personal help that's come throughout this whole process. Jack Zampolin, had some calls with him early on, and he was the one who pushed me towards launching the marketplace on Juno. He's like, you don't need this stuff right now. This works. Use that. It's going to be great. They're good people there, and it worked out stupendously. So we've just had so much help and care in the community from a bunch of different teams. It's been huge.
No, yeah. I think, I know a lot of those guys you just mentioned as well, and they're such great and helpful guys. And I really do think for anyone listening, potentially thinking about launching, your own chain, I think this is definitely some good examples of why you might want to choose Cosmos over some other options. I think, so I guess perhaps a last topic that I think we could sort of talk about a bit that I think is really cool about Passage is, so we've talked about virtual worlds a lot, and especially Strange Clan. But I think one thing that I sort of like to think about with Passage is a little bit like Sims, except you sort of own the assets that you're building the house or whatever metaverse with. So I think I don't know, just getting your thoughts on, okay, so let's say I want to build my own virtual world, which I know has its own structure that we might not have time to cover in this podcast, but maybe another time. And you build this world, and then I guess you have the option to buy a 3D asset as an NFT, which I've been told before by someone in the Passage team. These 3D assets are actually being built by proper 3D artists. So you buy this asset that's maybe finite in the amount that you can buy and that's available on your network, which is super cool. And then you can basically then use that to build as tools. It's sort of like Sims. Yeah, well, I guess is this how you sort of envision that sort of side of it? Will they interact with Strange Clan, or how could you see that sort of happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the beauty, is that for one, people building worlds will drive value to the ecosystem because it's all going to be contingent on Passage tokens, right? It's going to be the fuel underneath each of these layers. So people will start a world, and you can kind of dictate how people interact with your world. You can dictate if you've got areas of customization, right? So if you've got a booth that people can customize for the event that you're doing, or some area people can customize, you should be able to dictate how much, right? Okay, you can pull from these NFT collections, right? But not these, right? So they can kind of curate their own world, right? So each world builder would have the opportunity to decide what is allowed in that world and what makes sense for the application. So that's one layer. And then, we're solidifying these elements, but the vision that I had is that there's two elements of the NFT usage, right? There's ownership of the NFT, and then there's the application of the NFT, right? Because you might have 100 people who own, let's say you have 100 NFTs for a particular asset. Let's say it's a desk for a virtual office, and it's a really nice desk, right? This is the mahogany of the virtual space, and everybody wants this desk in their virtual office, so it gets used a lot, right? Well, you go and buy one of those, and that gives you basically, you have 1% of the total supply of that desk, right? And when somebody goes to use that in a virtual office, because people love this mahogany desk, then they're basically charged a fee, right? And so you don't have to own it to use it is the idea, right? Ownership and use of it would be two separate things. And ownership means that when they're charged a fee, you're the one charging the fee, right? It's your asset, right? And so you're getting 1% of that total charge, right? And so you may have somebody who uses 100 of those, right? Or they're using it in 100 different worlds, or 1,000 different people who are using it, right? It would operate a lot like a stock image website, right? Where somebody lists it on the website, except that you have provable ownership over that NFT, right? And it has a much more interesting application, right? So what's really cool about this to me is, again, you've instantly created utility for all the NFTs, right? Because if someone wants to put your art on their office wall, you're gonna get paid for it, right? And so, and not only that, when you upload an NFT to OpenSea, there is no inherent connectivity to any application, right? You have to build the application if you want there to be application, right? And so our goal is that there's instant utility for these assets. And then especially for 3D assets, to have the 3D info directly connected to the NFT so that even if everything were shut down, you still have access to that 3D information, right? That there is still some inherent value in the NFT because it is the product of artistic development, and all the information is there. So
yeah, I think again, like you said, this hasn't really ever been done before. Some of the things that you're attempting to undergo, I guess, when you launch this network. So I think with that level of excitement that I think is building up amongst us at Correspondent, and I'm sure everyone listening, we'll leave it there. Lex, thanks so much for your time today, mate, and really looking forward
it's a pleasure, brother,
and securing Passage going forward. And I know me personally, like I can't wait to have a crack and enter some of these virtual worlds and host the research team calls inside of Passage.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
So yeah, looking forward to doing that in the future. And yeah, once again, thanks so much for your time today, Lex, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
It's a pleasure, brother. Peace.